First up this Wednesday, a controversial new law in Denmark that's drawing new attention to Europe's refugee and migrant crisis. Because of war, poverty, and instability in other regions, more asylum seekers are entering Europe than at any time since World War II. Yesterday, a significant majority of Danish lawmakers approved legislation that allows officials to confiscate the valuables of migrants and refugees. Cash, watches, phones, computers, jewelry. Things worth more than $1,400 may now be seized by Danish officials. But sentimental items like wedding rings or portraits will not be taken. A Danish lawmaker says everyone in his country receives free health care, elderly care, education through college, language training, and that this ensures that migrants who are able will contribute financially to Denmark's society. But the United Nations says the law violates the migrants' dignity, and human rights group Amnesty International says it reflects a dismal race to the bottom by European countries responding to the refugee crisis. With so many refugees, combined with some high-profile crimes blamed on them in Europe, supporters and critics of Denmark's law say it's more about discouraging them from entering Denmark. Similar laws exist in Switzerland and Germany. One factor driving millions of refugees into Europe is violence in their homeland. And for some of them, especially those from Syria, it's connected to what's known as the Arab Spring. Next today, we're telling you how that started 5 years ago in the North African nation of Tunisia.
The Arab Spring is an uprising that transformed the Middle East. It began in late 2010 when a fruit seller in Tunisia set himself on fire after struggling to make ends meet and growing frustrated with police corruption in his town. His story resonated with fellow Tunisians who began protesting for democracy. While Tunisia's uprising was largely a success story, other countries in the region have struggled with violence, political instability, and even civil war. Egypt's president stepped down just weeks after protests broke out on January 25th. More than 800 people were killed during the revolution. The country held its first democratic election the next year, and Mohamed Morsi was elected president. But a year later, he was ousted by the military. Protests in neighboring Libya led to a civil war between opposition forces and regime loyalists.
We are walking into Gaddafi's compound.
Even though its leader, Muammar Gaddafi, was ousted, the country remains in chaos. The state of lawlessness has given ISIS a foothold in Libya. The country is also struggling to crack down on human trafficking. Yemen's president, Ali Abdullah Saleh, became the fourth Arab leader forced from power in 2011. In 2015, a civil war intensified between Sunni forces loyal to the government and Shia-led Houthi rebels. The deadly conflict was further complicated by regional players turning the conflict into a proxy war. While many other Arab countries also experienced uprisings, Syria was hit the hardest. Protests in the country led to a 5-year-old civil war with no end in sight. The conflict has displaced millions and killed more than 250,000 people, according to the United Nations. What started as an Arab Spring, hope for a new wave of democratic reforms, has unfolded into something entirely different, the effects of which will be felt for generations.
Really excited to see a school in Ireland was picked for today's roll call. First time that's happened. We're visiting County Laois. A very warm welcome to our viewers at the Heath National School. Thank you for making us part of your day. Next to Burlington, Kentucky, just a stone's throw from the Ohio and Indiana borders, the Trailblazers are blazing away at Camp Ernst Middle School. And from the city of Fort Yukon in eastern Alaska, the Eagles are soaring with CNN Student News. Fort Yukon School rounds out our roll. Now for the second half of our two-part series on transportation. We've covered maglev trains before. Maglev, short for magnetic levitation. The trains use powerful magnets to give a fast, smooth ride, floating on air, no friction. A couple challenges with them though, their cost and their power consumption. A scientist in Germany may have a way to address the second issue.
Ludwig Schulz is a German physicist. At 68, he's semi-retired, but still very much, it seems, a kid at heart. And his toys move about like few others. There are already magnetically levitated trains operating in China and Japan. but the technology is fundamentally different and is very expensive to run. Schulz's approach uses unique materials called superconductors that, once supercooled, can simply lock in place on a magnetized track without any need for power.
We are talking about superconducting magnetic levitation. For this, we need a superconductor. And the superconductor is only superconducting at low temperature, but we can cool it with liquid nitrogen. So now we pour it in here, and this cools the superconductor to minus 196 degrees centigrade. Now it is superconducting, and we can take away these blocks. And now it's levitating.
Oh, it is.
And you can test it. You can press it down, you can jump up, you cannot get it down. But it also sticks with this force. So you can try to lift it up, and you are not able to do it. Unless you are really strong. I want to see it.
With a pair of superconductors embedded inside, it was time for a ride, a two-seater runabout, or rather floatabout, the Supertrans.
Me here.
So now we are still lifted up by the lumberjacks, and we can remove the lumberjacks. Now we are levitating, and we can take off. And let's speed up a little bit.
That's very smooth.
Round and round we went on their 80-meter track, silently. Although we are some way off from being able to glide down the street on a hoverboard like Marty McFly, Schulz is working with a German company, Festa, to develop the technology further.
Scientists say sleep plays a role in how well we learn and remember. It's not just about getting enough sleep to process new information. It's also that during sleep, our minds somehow take the new info that we already learned during the day and put it in a memory bank. Now, if you throw a compliment into the mix, a study found that learning kicks into a whole new gear.
You know, giving compliments isn't just a good way to get someone's attention. It's an easy way to make someone feel good, even make yourself feel good. But in your brain, it's actually a lot more complicated than that. In fact, I want to tell you about this fascinating study that came out of Japan. People were asked to learn and perform a task, and then were separated into 3 groups. The first group included an evaluator who would compliment participants individually. The second group consisted of individuals who would watch another participant receive a compliment. The third group was then asked to evaluate their own performance. Now, when the people were asked to repeat the exercise the next day, the group that received direct compliments from an evaluator performed significantly better than the people in the other 2 groups. What the authors concluded was that to the brain, receiving a compliment is as much a social reward as being rewarded money. In fact, the same area of the brain, the striatum, is activated when a person is rewarded with a compliment or cash. Now, strange as it sounds, researchers think compliments serve as a catalyst for better skill consolidation during sleep. Praise, they say, provides a memory boost for the brain to more efficiently learn while sleeping. Like my wife always tells me, flattery will get you everywhere.
Makes sense that a race is easier when you have 4 legs. This is Ludivine. She's a hound dog. She lives in Alabama. A couple weeks ago, her owners let her out one morning, and Ludivine took off. She met up with some people at the start of a half marathon, decided to join them, and here's the awesome part. Even though Ludivine stopped to sniff some other animals and play in the water, she finished the whole race in 7th place out of 165 runners. Now, maybe some jealous runners would have called that mush. The runaway ran away with the top story of the day, and folks are probably dog-tired of hearing about it, though maybe they're relieved she didn't bark any records. Ludivine's owners don't even run, though, so in hindsight, they don't seem to mind being hounded about their hound's marathon achievement. I'm Carl Azus for CNN Student News.